This quick video describes the simple practical details associated with making good electrical connections using soldering approach. The first thing to do is to have a good soldering iron and a good place to work. The best is a temperature-controlled soldering iron with it set so that the wires don't get in your way, you don't have to move it, and it doesn't get tangled up in your workplace. The second thing is there's a little sponge which commonly goes right here, and that should be kept wetted whenever you're soldering. The purpose of the sponge is that when the solder tip is hot, that you can touch the tip and wipe it into the moist sponge, and the steam cleaning effect will provide a perfect surface that's clean of all oxidation products, and you'll be ready to get a good solder joint when that goes to the next couple of steps. The next thing to do is to both get a steady rest place for your hand, and the second is have a holder that puts the pieces in the correct orientation to be joined right in place. Where it's possible, a so-called tin each piece, in other words, put soldered material directly onto them so that the solder is wetted, for example, the wires and whatnot. And then assemble the pieces the way that you want them so that when you go to solder them together, it's a very simple task and you'll get a good joint. You need good lighting because you have to look carefully at what you're doing. The next thing is when you're ready to solder, you put the tip of the soldering iron directly so that it preferably touches both the pieces to be joined. And then bring solder down to the point where the joint is so that it gets wetted gets melted by the iron and flows directly into the two workpieces. Initially, the solder will melt and then it'll freeze again on the pieces. And then as the temperature goes up because of the influence of the iron, the solder itself will wet and then run inside the fittings to make a good clean join of the two materials. The temperature should be set so that it's hot enough to readily melt the solder and cause wetting, but low enough and kept that way so that it doesn't melt away and ruin all of the plastic pieces. And it should be that your wire or your connecting pieces are in the correct position. In this case, the wire that's down inside this fitting is actually almost flush to the surface where the plastic is, so that when the solder runs into the wire, the forces of wetting will cause the molten wetted solder liquid to run down and wick down inside the fitting and make both pieces come in intimate electrical contact. Once the piece has cooled, you can then hold on to the two pieces to make sure you've got a solid connection. That's all there is to it.